Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to go ahead and paint my Fallschirmjäger troops, and I've got all my colors laid aside. I've got my painting concept research done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to crank these guys out. All right, now the first thing we're going to use is the medium flesh tone from Vallejo. All right, the next color we're going to use is the camo black brown. This is a great color for German boots. It's not black, it's brown, and yes, the boots were dyed black, but through use and in the field and wear and tear, the black dye is coming off of the boots, and they're not re-dyeing the boots. And a lot of the leather under the black dye was brown. And if you take a look at some historical, like go to some museums and look at some of those boots, they are super dark brown. And that's what this is, this camo black brown. And that's what I'm going to use for their boots. All right, now when you look at that, doesn't that look black? But it's not, it's brown. Let me get my hand out of the lighting. See what I mean? All right, let me go ahead and continue painting these. All right, so now the next thing is we're going to paint their trousers Luftwaffe uniform. Okay, it's like a gray. It's not a field gray. It's kind of a blue slate gray. All right, so now be sure to paint the trousers and not the schmuck. And this is the opportunity to correct any overpaint that you might have from your black-brown boots. You don't have to get a 100% coverage on this. All right, so the next color we're going to use is stone gray. I don't know if you can see that, it might be rubbed off, but it is stone gray. This is going to be the undercoat for the smock. And that's going to be the base coat for the smocks. And then what we'll do is we'll put some camouflage on top of that. But for now, that's going to be the smock undercoat. Let me go ahead and finish with the rest of the guys. All right, now that the stone gray has dried, we're going to go ahead and apply a German camouflage medium brown. Okay, the German camouflage medium brown. And we're going to put these not in stripes, but in kind of like tiger stripes. They're going to be like jagged lines going across the uniform. And I'm going to put 3 of them parallel, okay? Parallel across the body. There's going to be, and I'm going to spread them out fairly wide because I'm going to put 3 green ones here in just a moment. I'm going to be using the Luftwaffe camo green here in just a moment. And they're going to be on the uniform like that. So you're going to have brown stripes, green stripes across the entire uniform. And let's go ahead and let me show you what I'm talking about. So now I'm using a slightly smaller brush than what I've been doing these base coats with. This is a 3.0 brush. Let me go ahead and grab a model. Let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. Leaving enough room in between for the green. And there might be a spot down here that you just squiggle it on. The arm. Okay, now when you go across the body or whatever line you deemed to be your center line. Don't put them parallel. Well, yes, parallel, but not in line with each other. Kind of like that. And there could have been, they could be some overlap as well. And you want to do it kind of randomly. You don't want it to be the same on every model. Now remember, the more brown you use, the browner your model will look. If you want your model to look green, then use less brown and more green. All right, so he is got his brown camo on. All right, let's do that again on a different model. So I'll pull out this guy. He's got more coat exposed. That's why I wanted to do that. So we're going to go right along the center of his back. And then we're going to go up a little bit and to the right. Go over here on his arm. Now I'm going to do his arm this way. Now it's okay to camo over straps because later when I go in and paint the strap, it'll cover the camouflage. So I'm kind of almost ignoring where all the pouches are in position. Now this is a tedious little process, but it's not hard. Okay, we got him completely covered in little stripes. All right, now let me do the rest of these guys and then I'll be right back. All right, there is a point I wanted to make about the helmet covers. There's a few of these that have helmet covers. These are not done in those stripes. These are done in more of a geometric shapes like triangles and squares. So just put some triangles, some hand-drawn triangles on there. They don't have to be perfect. None of the camouflage really was. And when you do the triangles, make sure you put them on facing in different directions. And again, you're going to want to put about 3 of them. So space them out fairly evenly. All right. Now there's another thing I wanted to mention. The sleeves are stitched to the smock, right? It's not one solid piece of camouflage. It's actually stitched. So when you go to do your camouflage, the camouflage fabric, the same camouflage pattern shouldn't go from the torso onto the sleeve. Rarely that will happen, sure, but usually your camo patterns will be delineated by the seam of the stitching. Also, like the fold on the front of the smock, that where it buckles together, camouflage patterns should not cross that line. That's just a little bit of advanced painting if you wanted to really stick to it. A lot of times I'll paint across the seam just for speed, but really you shouldn't. You should stop right there at the shoulder seam, and then you should do a different pattern entirely on the arms. All right, so once I get all these guys brown striped, we'll be back. All right, so we got everybody with their brown camouflage. Now what I'm going to do is use the very same brown, and I'm going to go over and find any exposed hair that might be poking out from underneath that ball cap or a helmet, and I'm going to paint it this brown as well. Specifically on this mortar, this is what really brings this to my attention. This guy here has no hat on. He's just got the Hitler haircut. And you can paint your hair any color you want. It's just that I think this is a good brown look, good brown hair color. Okay, now I'm just going to scout some of my other models just to see if there's any hair exposed. A lot of these guys have high collars that are covering up any hair that a model might have. All right, so the next color we're going to use is Luftwaffe Camo Green. Luftwaffe Camo Green we're going to use for the other stripes that are on this uniform. Now I'm going with a slightly larger brush. I'm going with a 2.0 just because I want these to be primarily green. So they're going to be green, brown, and tan, right? Except stone gray. All right, so now, I was thinking I wanted to water this down a little bit, but it looks like it came out. Yeah, I want to thin this out just a little bit, not a whole lot, so that you'll get a blended look on the model. So the stripe, when I put it on the model, it'll be dark in the center and it'll be a little bit thinner around the outer edges. Now I also, when I put it on the model, I want to ensure that I leave a little bit of the stone gray showing. Okay, so I'm going to use this guy as an example. You got the stripes, right? When I put the green on there, I'm going to put the green in between the brown stripes, but leave stone gray showing as a border. Like that. And remember, the green is also stripes. It's not a 100% coverage of everything that's not brown. They're still just stripes. They're just wider stripes. And the whole thing is supposed to be irregular. It's not supposed to be a mirror of each other or anything like that. So what you'll get is something that looks a little bit like that. Now this is gonna, when it dries, it's gonna dry fairly dark. And then don't forget, when it's all said and done, there is gonna be a strong wash applied to this as well. All right, so let's keep going. Let's do one more model to give you the idea of how it is going to look. We're gonna use something like that. I'm being conscientious of the seams, so that of the sleeves, so I'm not trying to go over those. All right, so we've got a green and brown. All right, so let me go ahead and finish these guys up, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this field gray away. We're not going to be using it. We'll be using the German uniform. I won't need a whole lot of this because there's only like 6 NCOs, 2 officers, and him. Oh, but yeah, but his jacket too. Almost forgot that. But still. use a big brush because this is not a detail work. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but it is a very blue gray. Actually, I'm very happy with it. Okay. Needs to be stirred up a little bit, I think. Because this is not a smock, it shouldn't have any camouflage at all on it. So it's kind of a subtle difference, but it'll look good when it dries. Now let me find some soft caps. Don't forget the officers. All right, let me get all these NCOs painted up and I'll be right back for the next color. All right, guys, so the next color we're going to use is going to be khaki webbing. Now you can use any khaki color. You can use even US Gator brown. I know it's awful light. I wanted it to be a little bit darker. You can use Vallejo khaki. You can see that's a little bit too dark in my opinion. But one of the reasons why I use this mid-range color is because, again, remember, I'm going to be putting a wash on top of it. I think this will bring it down to the perfect color. All right, now the only thing that we're putting khaki webbing on is the haversack. That's it. So we're going to grab a model. I'm going to find his haversack. I'm going to take the khaki webbing and we're just going to apply it to it. All right, there we go. Let's find another, and I think every single one of these models should have a haversack of some kind, some shape. All right, so let me go ahead and do all the haversacks, and then I'll be right back. All right, the next color we're going to use is black green. It's an extremely dark green. If I didn't have this paint, I would use something like German camo dark green. It's not exactly as dark as this, but that's why I'm using this. All right, so let me grab a fig that has a gas mask canister, which not all of them do. Something like that. He's got this canister right here. Simple enough. Let's take a look, and we'll just find another model that's got a gas mask canister. That's this guy. Let's go ahead and paint him up. All right, and there you go. There's another gas mask canister. Okay, let's go ahead and get all the gas mask canisters painted this color, and we'll move on to the next step. Actually, I misspoke. As I was going through the models, I forgot the flamethrower should be that color as well. Flamethrower canisters, that is. All right, now the next color we're going to use is field blue. This is going to be for the Fallschirmjäger helmets that don't have any camouflage. So if it's just a metal helmet with no netting, we're going to put the field blue on them. So that's going to be like a couple, maybe half a dozen or maybe a dozen helmets, something like that. And it's just the helmets. Camouflage? No. Camouflage? Yeah. Ball caps? Camouflage? Okay, he's got a goggles on his helmet, but that's okay. We're going to paint the whole thing field blue, and I'll go back later and paint the goggles. And you see how that's kind of it's a gray, but it's kind of a bluish gray. I like that color. There we go. All right, let me finish the blue-gray and we'll move on, or the field blue, and then we'll move on to the next color. All right. right, now the next color we're going to work with is German Camo Orange Ochre, but basically it's just orange ochre. It's kind of the mustard color that we're going to use on a few pieces of their gear, mainly the ammo cans and Panzerfausts, Panzerschrecks, and the mortar. So let's go ahead and hit the mortar with some orange ochre. There we go. Like an ammo can, orange ochre. All right, now the next color we're going to use is the Highlight G2 Field Gray, but it's not. It's a brown. This is part of the Panzer Aces Highlight G2 Field Gray. Think of this like a light, I don't know, it's kind of a, you can see. It's not tan, it's not brown, it's kind of half between. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that. We're going to use that on the canteens, the lower half of the canteen. Every one of these guys should have a canteen. All right, so we look at our canteens and we're doing the bottom half. It's truly a canteen cover, and it's like it's kind of a fur, but we're going to go ahead and paint it that color. Get another one over here. All right, now let me go ahead and do all the canteens for these 42 something guys, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, now the next color we're going to use is Flat Earth. It's a brown that we're going to use as the bottom handle of the entrenching tool. The German entrenching tool had a wooden handle, a lot like the US and the British. So, and also not all these figures have entrenching tools. I would say about half of them. Now, the entrenching tools are, it's a metal folding shovel. And the shovel is inside a little belt. It's like a strap that holds it to the belt. Well, the straps are black and the shovel is black, so that's all going to be black. But the lower portion of the shovel is wooden. Now you can paint the straps that hold the shovel like a tan leather color if you wish. That would be perfectly acceptable as well. But again, I'm painting late war Fallschirmjagers. All their straps are black. All right, let me finish the entrenching tool handles and I'll be right back. All right, guys, and now the next color we're going to use is the Burnt Sierra. I mean, if you wanted to, you can use Wood Brown, but I'm using the Folk Art Wood Sierra, Burnt Sierra, to do the rifle stocks and any wood furniture on any of the equipment. That's what we're going to use this for. All right, so let me go ahead and get that, and we'll get going. All right, so let's find somebody that's got wood on his furniture. Now, it's almost always the buttstock. Pistol grips. Or if it's an FG42, and this section where the hand is. Okay, now we're gonna do a little trick here. We're gonna do some flame effects for the flamethrower. The first thing I'm gonna do is paint the emissions with US Gators brown. This is actually a very light tan. I just put a very small drop in there. Grabbing a giant brush. This brush hasn't been broken yet. Should be a 4.0 brush, I do believe. Yeah, it's a 4.0 brush. Doesn't matter, just any big brush. And the main thing is I want to make sure I get it close, if not exactly, up to the nozzle. And I want to make sure that every piece of it is colored that US Gators. Another color you might use is like a linen or like a really off-white. And then the further I go out, the less it needs to be a complete coat. So you can kind of almost dry brush on the way out. I'm just doing a wet brush. It doesn't have to be perfect. There you go. So now we're going to leave that there just for a moment and let that dry. All right, now before it completely dries, it's probably only been maybe 5 minutes. I'm going to use Submarine Yellow from Warlord, and we're going to paint the mid area with Submarine Yellow. Whoops, I almost used the big brush. And I only put one little drop right there, as you can see. Now you can see. And I'm focusing on this little section right there. Now I'm going to bring that in and mix with the partially wet tan, but very lightly. All the way to the nozzle, just very lightly. And the heaviest jello will be right there in the middle. Okay. Now what we're going to do, without letting anything dry, I'm just going to put a very small drop of red. Big brush. Red on the end. And then drag it into the yellow. I'm just using, and then I'm going to go about halfway down. Allowing some of the yellow to shine through. So you get like almost a white yellow. There we go. Yeah. Now let's let that sit off and dry for a minute. Before we venture into the black, we're going to go ahead and do the gunmetal gray, and I'm going to do all their metallic weapon parts gunmetal gray. All right, so the MP40s. The entire thing, magazine and all. And then we'll take the FG42. FG42. And like here's the MG42. Let's go ahead and get that. And there's the machine gun. Let me go ahead and get all the guns done, and I'll be right back. All right, now we're going to make 2 passes on these guys using licorice, which is a black, but it's not actually salt. It's like an, I don't know, can you make an off black? But that's what it is. And I'm going to paint all the big pouches and containers this color using a 2O brush. And then I'm going to go back over it again using a 10O brush for the shoulder straps and any other small little straps that I can't hit with a big brush. All right, so like this guy's holster. And then his magazine pouches. Now he's got those shoulder straps, ammo pouches. and the entrenching tools. All right, so let me go ahead and finish doing the large pouches and large pieces on the models, and then I'll be right back. All right, so the next color we're going to use is the German Camo Dark Green. We're actually going to use the German Camo Dark Green on the camouflage netting on these three helmets. Because it has foliage in it, where these nets don't have any foliage. And then also, I'm going to do it on the camo wrap that is on the sniper rifle. There's a wrap around the rifle itself. We're not going to need a whole lot. That's going to cover everything. So that's the undercoat on the netted helmet. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and paint the mine as well. Now there's two shells. There's one in the hand of the mortar loader. And then there's one in the hand of the secondary crew member. And then there's this guy kneeling, holding a anti-tank gun shell. All right, now continuing on with the camouflage of their helmets and the sniper rifle, we're going to use Zeltbahn Camo Brown. And we're going to just put highlights. Targeting the foliage that's on these helmets. Now on the rifle itself, because it's a wrap, I'm going to look at the wrap straps and kind of just paint a few of them. Every other one of them or something like that. And then do something like that. Now I'm still going to do the foliage on the helmet. All right. Now we're going to paint the ammo belts a pure gold. Let's see if I can find all the ammo belts. Let's pull these out of the way. All right. So there's an ammo belt. All right, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to apply a wash to these guys. And I'm going to use the Army Painter Quick Shade Strong Tone. Now I don't ever do Strong Tone straight. I always dilute it. And so I put 2 drops of Strong Tone and 1 drop of water. So I'm going to do, and then as I use it up, then I go back and do more drops. But right now you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 30 drops in there. And then I'm going to put 10 drops from my water bottle here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So that's 15 drops of water and 30 drops of Strong Tone. And then I will stir this up. So that's a 2 to 1. 2 to 3, actually, I should say. Or is that 2 to 1? Hold on. Yeah, that's 2 to 1. I was right the first time. You got to stir it up. And then we grab our figures. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just completely 100% coating the model with the strong tone. You got to make sure you completely cover the model with the wash. You want to put it on excessive. You want it to be heavy. You want to be able to see the strong tone. You want it to be like a dark, but I use water so that it'll run a little bit better, and it won't. But if you dilute it too much, you'll start to get like a white residue, so don't dilute it too much. All right, let me set that off to the side. Now let me do all these and I'll be right back. Okay, so I was able to do about 15 models with that setup that I've done. So let's go ahead and set up another 30 drops. All right, so then we just go ahead and move on to the second setup. And I'll be back when I get these done. All right, guys, the next step that we've got is we're going to start the flocking process. I've switched to a fine grit. I used to have like a medium grit. I've switched to a fine grit. It's actually like a ballast for model railroading. And I use the medium brown. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put some Elmers inside the base. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just a little bit. And I'm going to coat the base with it. And I use a Tester's paintbrush, synthetic, to move my glue around. Because when it's all said and done, this brush will clean very easily. Now, if you glued your figure to your base using any kind of PVA glue, you'll have to do this step kind of in a hurry, because if you let it sit for about a minute or two, it'll loosen the bond between the base and the model. And then I'll just grab a bunch of grit and I'll set the base off to the side. I'm not shaking anything off. I'm going to let it soak into the Elmer's glue. All right, let's show you that technique again. It's not complicated. Glue. Elmer's. Brush. Now, I used to use a toothpick. I used a toothpick for many years. And then I thought to myself, why am I forcing myself to use a toothpick? The toothpick just takes too long to get the glue to spread around. You know, I didn't realize at the time that I could just water wash the brush with the Elmer's and it would come right off. That was me just not understanding PVA glue. All right, let me do these guys and then I'll be right back. All right, we are back and it should have been dry by now. I played a couple of missions in City of Heroes, so that should be dry enough for me to knock off any extra gravel. And I'm going to go ahead and use my big thick brush here. Let's move the camera so you can kind of see what's going on. All right. Now the main thing is we just want to knock the gravel off. start with the oldest one first. All right. Turn this over, tap it a few times. Should be done. Got an extra empty box. Perfect. Looks good. Looks like it's completely covered. Okay. And it should be, you know. And it looks like it's been soaked in. Now the ones that I'm curious about are the ones that have metal bases or metal figures. Because, here we go, here's some metal figures, a Panzer Shrek. I put a little extra glue around the base so that it would disguise the fact that it is on a metal base. I mean, you can kind of see how that's disguised. Plus, I'll clean the edge of this a little bit. Just knock some of the gravel off. There we go. But when I start putting grass in there and stuff, any vestige of it being on its own little base will disappear. Okay. Let me go ahead and knock all these out, and then we'll be right back. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put the Battlefield Grass Green on there. That's the Army Painter flock. I've really fallen in love with this flock, the Battlefield Grass Green. It's a lot like my other scatter, but it's more of a yellowish green, and that's what I prefer. Okay, so we're gonna take a model, right, and I'm gonna kind of get into a better camera position here so you can kind of see what we're doing. All right, so you see that the base is covered with the gravel. Now we're going to take some PVA or Elmer's, and I'm going to put just a couple of dots on the gravel, like maybe 3 dots. A dot there, a dot there, and a dot there. Just drops. And then I'm going to use my paintbrush to move this and push it into and spread it around the gravel. Trying not to go over the edge. And it's okay if the 2 dots intermingle a little bit. It's perfectly okay. I'm actually trying to force it right here. There you go. There we go. And then I'll just take some of my green grass, sprinkle it lightly onto the model. So that it lands all over the base. And then I set it off to dry. And then, as you know, when I knock off the grass that's not on any glue will fall off, and it will leave the gravel exposed beneath. Now this guy I put, and you'll notice, 2 teardrop-sized dots, and I'm going to put a very small one in between his legs in the back. There we go. Okay, so let's get started with that little one. And let's work with the teardrops. And if you find that you don't have enough glue on the base to give it the effect that you want it to have, there's nothing saying you can't do this. It's your model. Get it to do what you want it to do. Okay. And then we sprinkle. Now the reason why you let it sprinkle down on it instead of just clumping it on or digging, like taking the model and digging it under the flock, is because you want it to fall and land. You want it to look natural. Okay, now let's look at a model that's metal. Okay, that these are done just a little bit differently. You notice how there's got that little lip, a little raised area. Now I make sure that I put a piece of glue along that raised area. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Now, I'm going to get the same effect. I'm going to push and spread maybe up on to the top of the base as well, and outside the base, or the bottom, lower shelf if you want to call it that. Yep, that needs just a little bit more on the top. That's good. And we scatter. And then, okay, now I'm going to put those right there. Now I'm going to try to remember these three models when we go to reveal after I shake the flock off, so that you can kind of see the effect of those three models. But while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do these, and I'll be back in just a minute. All right, I've got them all with their flock, and I believe that these models here are the ones that I wanted to show you. We're going to knock the flock off of these, just like we did the gravel, by tapping and then brushing all the flock off the model. Alright, now there's one of the Fallschirmjagers. This was the guy with the jacket. He didn't have the smock on, but what I'm focusing on is the grass. See the dirt shining through? Okay. Let me hit this officer right here. There you go. See how the grass lays? Wait a second. There we go. Yikes. Okay. And then the third one. See all the dirt and the grass. I need to hit these guys with a dull coat. All right, let me get all the grass off, and then we'll do some money shots. All right, guys, here are the Fallschirmjagers. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of, I'm going to give you some close-ups on these guys here in just a second, but just to kind of give you a layout of what I've got available right now is I've got 3 squads of 10, 2 NCOs, 2 machine guns with their assistant gunners, and 4 FG-42s. And and 2 of those are carrying Panzerfausts. So that's mirrored in every one of these squads. Those are the 3 identical squads. And then I've got a platoon leader back here, and then a company commander right here. So, or either way, or maybe that's the company commander, and then maybe that's the platoon leader. Either way, and then I've got 4 Kar 98 riflemen that could be used as runners, add-ons to these guys, or just general filler, you know, however I want to do it. I've got my 81mm mortar team right here. I've got the Panzerschreck team, the flamethrower team, and the sniper team. And then these 4 guys over here are part of the anti-tank gun crew that is not just deployed right here. All right, well, let's get some close-ups, and then you get to see what it's all about. All right, now this is the sniper. Not going to do everybody, just doing some main characters here. The flamethrower. Panzerschreck. Squad leader. I can focus that close. Wonder where the focus points are. There we go. Squad leader. Machine gunner. Assistant gunner. Panzerfaust. Mortar. Rifleman. Anti-tank crew. Officer. Car 98. Alright guys, well thanks for coming out and checking out my painting of the Fallschirmjagers. And I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to have to edit it way down. I don't want to say any of that. No. Alright, thanks for coming out and checking out this video on our Fallschirmjagers. And it looks like I've got a lot of other miniatures ready to go. I think I'm going to do some American glider troops next. No, maybe British. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do some British. I think I want to do American glider troops, though. Just American Joes. I don't know. Well, thanks for coming out and checking out this video of me painting these Fallschirmjagers. And look forward to more painting videos because I've got some Waffen-SS, some glider troops, and some British airborne, as well as just regular Blitzkrieg German infantry. And some vehicles. Alright, I'll catch you next time.